Alright, welcome back. So in this video, I see a lot of my students sometimes playing these clicker games or wanting to play clicker games, and so I thought I'd just show you can make a very simple clicker game in Scratch. And so this is my interpretation of the clicker game. So if you have, so we just start out right away with the opening Scratch sequence here. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this character. In fact, I'm just going to delete that character. And I'm going to go search for, so they have a button in here that you can search for. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this one. You could grab anything here. I'm going to use this one. And what I like about this one is there's actually, if you go to costumes, we have two different costumes. So one can be the start out, and then the next one, we could have, when we click, it shows up with a different color. And so I'm actually going to add some text here too. And we're going to call this clicker. Now when you put this together, make sure that you line this up, this here, with the center of this. It just really helps when you add stuff like this to keep it in the center of your button. And that's the way it's going to look right there. And I'm actually going to copy this and place it down here. Now we could just keep it purple. If we wanted to, we could change the color. For ease of use, we're just going to keep it purple. And that may not look the best, but we can always highlight it. Oops. So highlight it and change the color if we wanted to. Maybe we'll do something like that. Alright, so there's our button. Pretty straightforward. Let's change the size of it a little bit, make it 125%. Okay, so there's our clicker. So the next thing now, we have our code that we have to come up with. So I already have it in variables here. This is what you're going to want to use to keep track of how many clicks you've done. Now they just give you one to start out with called my variable. I'm going to right click on that and rename it, and I'm going to call it clicker. So now I got my clicker variable, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this and have it available to me up here. And I can right click on that too and make it a large readout. So that's going to keep track of how many times I clicked down here. So the next thing we need to do is we need to add a couple of events. We need to add when the sprite is clicked. So every time I click this sprite, which is the button, it's going to do something. Well, what do I want it to do? Well, what I want it to do is I want it to change the clicker by 1. And what I'm going to also want it to do is change the costume. So I'm going to go to look, and I'm just going to tell it to next costume. And then this will work. Like if I just go ahead and click the button, it actually starts going up. Now we do have to kind of factor in that if we want to start over, how do we reset this? So I'm going to actually drag out another event and use the green flag and say that on this start button here, it's going to do a couple things. So let's make this a little bigger, just easier to see. What I want it to do first off is I want it to reset the variable. So now I'm going to use the set clicker, and I'm going to set it back to 0. And then I'm also going to use the looks, and I'm going to tell it that I want to switch the costume back to the original. So this is this one right here. So when I hit the green flag, it's going to go back to this, and then when I start clicking, it'll keep track. Now if I end up with my clicker at this, then when I hit the green flag, it resets back to 0 and goes back to this first one. And you could do a lot of other things with this if you wanted to. You could build off of this and create like an operator and use like the greater than. So you could say if the clicks get to 50, which that never seems to go that low, it's much higher. But we can use our variable and we can drag in our clicker. So say when the clicker is greater than 50. So let's go ahead and drag out a control here. We're going to use an if. And we're just going to say if that happens. And we're going to want to put a forever around this, because what happens is if you just have this if by itself, it's going to check this immediately. Because if I put a green flag out here and say, alright, actually I could just reset it with this too. Okay, so If I reset this, it'll check this the very first time, and if it's not over 50, it won't do anything. So I need to drag a forever here. And in this case, I'm actually going to put a green flag around it, so it's not as part of this. You can have multiples of these. I like to keep them separate. You could put the forever here. The only problem with that is it gets stuck in the loop and it won't go back up to this. So, and we're really not using it more than just one time through, but it's not bad to keep them separated. And so then you can use a look and say, drag this out and say you win. Okay, so now when I hit my green flag, it starts, and every time I click, at 20, I suppose I could have done a smaller number than 50. When I hit 50, nothing will happen, but when I hit the next one, hey, you win. And I didn't type that well. But that's how you make a clicker game. Alright, and I'm sure you can, you definitely can add more to this and make it much more creative, but in just a short video here, just trying to show you the basics of how that would work and keep track of the clicks and things like that. Alright, hopefully this helps you with your coding, and good luck.